Hey there, Louis Akabalis here. Thanks for stopping by. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use the Microsoft Teams Updates app. Now, before we get started, if you find this tutorial helpful, please hit that thumbs up below and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date on the latest tutorials that I publish. Now let's go ahead and let's get started. Now, the Microsoft Teams Updates app was released by Microsoft at the end of May, and essentially what this app does is it allows you to create and submit digital forms right through the Microsoft Teams desktop and mobile application. Now, this application was built specifically for organizations with significant frontline operations to help those organizations streamline manual data collection processes. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to look at how you can install this application. Then we're going to look at how you can actually submit and review forms through the Updates app. Then we're going to look at how you can create your own custom apps with workflow. And then what we're going to do is we're going to end off by looking at how you can view the underlying data collected through these forms and how you can actually extract that data or export it to Excel. Now let's go ahead and let's check it out. All right, now to add the Updates app to Teams, you want to click on the More Added Apps button, and here you want to search for and select Updates. Now you can see here the first result is the Updates app. You want to go ahead and click on this, and this is going to bring up the app information card. Now before I go ahead and click Add, I did want to call your attention to this drop-down arrow. Now when you actually click on it, you can see that you have the option of adding this app to a team, a chat, and a meeting. Now, these options are somewhat misleading because you can actually use this app in a team, in a chat, and in a meeting, even if you don't select these options. Now, I'll go ahead and click Add, and you can see here that the Updates app has been installed in my Teams desktop app, and you'll notice that there is an Updates app icon. So whenever you want to access the app, you just want to click on the Updates app icon. All right, now, as you can see here, when you click into the Updates app, this is the primary landing page for this app. Now, very quickly, the app is divided into two tabs. The Submit tab, which is what we're looking at right now. This is where you can come to actually submit an update form. Now, you'll notice that the update forms are divided into those that are scheduled, which we're going to talk about later in the tutorial, and other ones that have been flagged as important. And if you scroll down, you can also see your previous submissions. Now, when you click on the Review tab, this is where you can actually come to review updates that have been submitted. So if I scroll down, I can actually drill down into a specific update, and you'll notice that for scheduled updates that this app will also display some very rudimentary statistics in these different cards here. Now we're going to start off the tutorial by looking at how to submit a few different update forms using some of the out-of-the-box templates that have been built already for you. And then we're going to move into looking at how to actually create your own custom templates. All right, now to submit an update, what you want to do is go ahead and select one of these update cards, and you want to go ahead and click into that. Now, before I actually do this, this app comes with a series of pre-built templates that are automatically available for submission, and that is what you are going to see listed here on the screen. Now, if you click on See All, this is where you can actually view all of the different templates that exist. So you'll notice Daily Update, Incident Report, Maintenance Request, Project Progress, Shift Handoff, etc. Now, I'll just go ahead and I will click into the Incident Report update. And these updates are essentially forms that you can fill out directly in Teams in this card view. Now you're going to see here that the first field is update title, and there's some pre-populated text, including the date. Next, you're being asked to input viewers. Now, in terms of the roles in this app, there are essentially submitters. Those are the users that will fill these forms out. And then several of these forms have this viewers field where you populate it with users, and that is going to allow those individuals to review this card. Now, I'll go ahead and select a few different people in the viewers column. You can see here that you can actually select multiple individuals, and there you go. Now, if you wanted to remove a viewer, you could just place your cursor on the little X and you can click on it. Next, this template is asking me to input an incident name. I'll just go ahead and write slip and fall. And then I'm being prompted to select a date. So I'll go ahead and select today. I can put in a location. And again, these forms are custom. So you could either use these templates or you can amend the templates or just create your own templates from scratch, which we're going to do later in the tutorial. Now, if I scroll down, you're going to see here that there are some mandatory fields. So I'm just going to go ahead and populate some of these with information here, just put in some text. And once I've populated all of the mandatory fields, I can submit this. So I'll go ahead and click submit. And you can see here that this incident update has been submitted. Now, if I wanted to review a form or an update that has been submitted, that is where I can click on the review tab. So if I go ahead and click on this and I scroll down, you can see here the list of updates that I've received. And again, updates that you receive are those updates that are submitted where you have been added as a viewer. So you can see here the incident report June 18th that we just filled out. If I go ahead and click on this, you can see that I'm able to just view this information and I can't actually click into any of these fields and modify it. So again, this app is really just all about allowing users to submit information through templated or custom forms and then pass that information on to users that have been designated as viewers or as reviewers. Now, one other thing that I will draw your attention to on the review tab is you'll notice the 3 dots at the end of these submissions. Now, if you actually click on this, you're going to see this button that says view entire series. Now, if I click on that, essentially what that's going to allow me to do is it will allow me to view at a glance all of the different submissions for this specific update form, in this case, which is the incident report. So you can see here the most recent submission of this incident report update form was the one we've just filled out in this tutorial. And you can easily see on this left pane here that I can click into prior submissions of this update form. So it's handy again, because once you build these update forms and people start filling them out and submitting them, you can easily come back and trace previous submissions right here in one screen directly in Microsoft Teams. All right, now before we look at how to create and modify update forms in the app, what I've done is I've just opened the maintenance request update template and I've gone ahead and filled this out. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that this app does not allow you to attach pictures to these update forms. And in my testing, that seems to be somewhat of a significant limitation, especially if you consider an example like this maintenance request update form, or even the incident report form that we just looked at. Now, what's interesting is you'll actually notice in this template that the field here says attach a picture of the item needing repair to the update, but you'll notice there is no attachments icon. So again, that is either a typo on this field on Microsoft's part, or perhaps the ability to attach pictures to these fields is a feature that will be added to this app later. But right now that is a bit of a limitation, because if you are planning to use this app while out in the field through the Teams mobile application, it would be incredibly powerful for people to be able to take pictures of things like this, a maintenance request, a piece of equipment that requires repair or updates, etc., and to just snap a picture and have that automatically pass through this update form. So definitely something to stay tuned for. Hopefully Microsoft adds that ability at a later time. Now I'll go ahead and click submit, and you can see here that that update has been submitted. Next, we're going to look at how you can actually create your own custom templates in the app. And we'll also look at how you can modify these pre-built templates in case you wanted to just use it, but modify it somewhat. All right, now to create a custom update form, what you want to do is click on this Create and Manage Templates button. And next you want to click on New Template. Now you can create a custom form by copying an existing template. So if you were to select any one of these templates, it would display the fields that are included on the template, and then you can go ahead and modify that form to meet your specific requirements, or you can just start from blank. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll start from blank. So I'm going to click this, And the first step is to give your template a name. So I'm going to call this customer complaints. And I'm going to put in a description that says to be used to record customer complaints. And then you want to go ahead and click next. Now the next step is to start adding fields or questions to your form. Now to do that, you want to click on the Add New button. And you'll notice here that you have 3 different question or field types. You have a choice type, you have a text type, and you have a date type. Now, before I add a field to this form, if you've ever used Microsoft Forms, then you'll notice that this design looks similar to how you build surveys or quizzes in Microsoft Forms. And this is sort of stepping ahead of what we're going to look at in the back end of the tutorial, but these forms are actually Microsoft Forms forms. So as we'll see later in the tutorial, the actual data that is collected through these forms is stored in the Microsoft Forms application. So that's why this looks a little bit familiar. It seems as Microsoft is sort of reusing components from Microsoft Forms, or even just exposing forms in a different interface, if you will. Now, to add a question, you just want to select the type of question. So I'm going to go ahead and start by adding a date type question. And again, you're going to see that this resembles how you might actually build a form in Microsoft Forms. So I'll just say enter the date that the complaint was received. So you want to enter your question or your field. Now you'll notice here that there is no option to change the response type. That's because this is a date type question. But what you can do is you can toggle the required on or off to make this field mandatory. And you always want to go ahead and click on the More Settings button for questions. Clicking on this is going to bring up whatever additional options are available for this specific field type. In this case, the only other option is to add a subtitle. So if I go ahead and click this, it's essentially going to allow me to append some additional text just below the actual field. Now I'll go ahead and turn the subtitle off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to click Add New. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a choice type. So I'm going to select this. And a choice type is essentially multiple choice, or where you provide sort of a pick list of values. Now, in this case, we're going to enter the question, what was the complaint about? And we might add options that say, service, products, for example. And if you wanted to add additional options, you could go ahead and click the add option here. So I'll just say food. And you also notice that there is a built-in add other option. So you can go ahead and add that. And if a user checks this, they'll be able to actually type in a value here. Now, in terms of the settings for choice type questions, you'll notice that by default, individuals submitting this form can only select one response from your choice types. If you wanted to permit them to respond with multiple answers, you want to toggle this on. So that's another setting you have with choice type fields. And again, whether you want this to be required or not, you just want to toggle that option on here. Now, again, always click the More Settings for questions. And what you'll notice here is that you can shuffle the options if you wanted to. This is more relevant for surveys or quizzes, maybe less relevant for data collection through forms. What's also really cool is you also have the option to make this a drop-down. So again, instead of having all the responses displayed by default, if you go with a drop-down, they're going to have to just click on a drop-down and they'll see the full list of values available for selection. Now I'll go ahead and I'll click Add New. And this time we're going to add a text type. And so we are going to put in our field text. Now you'll notice by default, it is set to a short text data type. Now, if you wanted to provide users with the ability to put more information, then you want to toggle this long answer on. And you're going to see here that the input box has grown. So that's an option. And again, if we click on our More Settings, what you'll notice is you have that same subtitle option. And given that this is a free text response, you also have the ability to put in restrictions. So if you click on this, what you're going to notice is that you can click on this field and you can set specific parameters or restrictions for the responses that can be provided. So this is kind of like building out some data validation, if you will. Now you can see it's specific to numbers. So if you select number, then the value must be a number. So this is just saying that the response that's provided has to be a number, or you could actually build out ranges. So the number has to be greater than, and you can specify your value. So now I'll just go ahead and turn this restriction off. Now, once you've added all of your fields to your form, what you want to do is go ahead and click next. And here is where you can build out your workflow for these specific forms. Now, in the context of this app, workflow is rather simple. It's not the kind of workflow you might build out in Microsoft Power Automate, for example. Really what workflow here entails is select the individuals who you would like to expose this form to. So you can see here, it has a field for submitters. So submitters can write and actually submit the update. So whoever you pipe into this field, it essentially means only those individuals will have access to this form. So I'll go ahead and just add a few people here. Now, an important note, you can actually add teams as well. So instead of hard coding individual users, you can actually just use the name of a team, and it's automatically going to expose this form to everybody who's a member of that team. So that's a bit of a trick with this app. Instead of kind of hard coding these forms and exposing them to individuals, try to leverage teams as much as possible, because that's going to make sharing it and distributing it a lot easier. Now, the next step here is to put in the viewers. Now, essentially what this means is that whoever you pipe into this viewers field, that means that they're going to be able to review the details submitted on these update forms, and they'll be able to see the statistics. Now, it's the same idea. You just want to go ahead and search for and select the individual viewers and add them here. Now, an important note, you cannot add groups to the viewers. So you can see as I start to type finance, I'm not able to see the results. You can't add teams as viewers. This has to be individuals, whereas you could add teams as the submitters. And the last step in building out your workflow is the advanced settings. Okay, now you'll see here, this says that the advanced settings will apply to all submissions. And if you toggle this on, it's going to give you some additional options below. Now, again, it's pretty basic. Essentially what the advanced settings entail is you can actually schedule these updates to be sent out to the submitters. So it's going to throw a notification and request that they provide this update on a specific frequency. So that's the extent of the workflow capabilities that are included in this app out of the box at the time that it was released. Now, if you did want to make this a recurring submission, you could go into the repeat field and you can set your cadence. So you can see the options are either one time, every week, or every month. So I'll just go ahead and select every week, and then you can select the specific due date. So you'll see here I can choose the specific days of the week that I want this update to be provided by the submitters, and you can also specify the time. Now you'll notice this text that says will remind submitters 2 hours before due time. So the app is going to throw a notification in those submitters' activity feed. Now, before I go ahead and publish this, an important note, if you want to go back to any of the previous steps, all you need to do is click on the specific step here on the left-hand side, and you can go back and actually amend the details of this form. Now, once you're ready to publish this, you want to go ahead and click publish. And you can see here at the very top of this list, the customer complaints form that we just built. Now, an important note, if you want to modify an existing form, whether it's a custom one or even whether it's one of the pre-built templates, when you're on the landing page, again, you want to click on create and manage templates. And this list is the list of all of the templates that are available in the app. So if I wanted to make a change to that customer complaints template, I could go ahead and click on it, and it's going to bring me back into this form builder that we just walked through. So that's how you can actually modify an existing form or one of the templated forms. Now, the other thing that you can do from this menu is you can actually disable the forms that are active. Now, to do that, you want to click on the 3 dots on the actions column, and you'll see here this option to disable. Now, if I go ahead and click this, you're going to get this prompt that is saying, are you sure you want to disable the customer complaints template? It won't be able to be used after it's disabled, but you're not going to lose any of the updates that were provided. So this is just sort of turning it off so that individuals can't go ahead and submit this update. Now I'll just go ahead and cancel this so that we can actually look at that form that we just built. All right, now what I've done here is I've gone ahead and I've impersonated my colleague Diego. Now, if I click on the activity feed here, what you're going to see is that Diego received a notification to provide the customer complaints update. Now you can see that this form has all of the fields that we just added to it. And it also has a title field, which defaults to the name of the form plus the date. So I'll go ahead and fill this out. I'll enter the date on which the complaint was received. I'll go ahead and I will select a value describing what the complaint was about. And again, you can see if you select other, you have the option to enter some text. And then I'll just go ahead and enter some text here in the last field, and I will click submit. Now that update has been submitted and I'll be able to review that. Now very quickly, if I scroll through the activity feed here, you'll see these notifications that say you have an update due soon. So this is an example of when you set an update to recur on a frequency. You set it to some sort of schedule like we saw earlier in the tutorial. This is the kind of notification that your users will receive. Is they'll just get this little activity feed notification that says you have an update due soon. And if they click on it, it's going to open up that form and they'll be able to provide that update. Next, we're going to look at how to use this app in the context of a team. All right, now I mentioned earlier in the tutorial that you can actually use the Updates app in the context of a team. Now, specifically, how you can use this app is you can actually create channel posts that will request that a specific update be provided by all members of the team. Now, there are a few ways to do this. First, you can click on the new conversation button, and you can actually invoke this app through a chatbot. So simply typing @ and then typing the word updates, you'll see here that you can select the app. And if I click on this, it's going to display this command, which is create an update. Now, if I click on this, this is going to bring up the Updates app where I can either write an update myself or I can request an update. Now, if I click request an update, it's going to ask me which update do I want. From here, I can either build out an entirely new update form, or I could just go ahead and select one of these templates. Now, if I quickly go back and I click on write an update, I can just select any of these templated updates and fill this out myself. Okay. Now, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and request an update, and we're just going to select one of these templates. So I'll click on daily update. You can see the fields here. So this is sort of like a preview of the form itself. And then you want to go ahead and click on pick this template. Now you also have an opportunity to amend this template right here before you publish this to the team, asking the members to provide this update. So a little bit of a shortcut to allow you to customize the form if necessary. Once you're ready to request this update, just go ahead and click next. You'll notice here again, you have an option to make this a recurring update in the context of this team. So if you wanted to do that, you could do it from here as well. In this case, I'll just make this a one-off update by turning off the advanced settings, and I'll click publish. And you can see here that this has been posted in the team, and it is also going to display some details. So receive by or view by, this is equivalent to the viewers when we were building out the forms, is the person that's requesting the update. The form itself is available to all of the team members, and you can see the number of submissions in real time. Now, if I wanted to provide an update, I could click write update, and that's going to bring up this form. So I'll just go ahead and fill this out very quickly, and I'll click submit. You can see here my update has been submitted, and you can see that the statistics here have updated in real time. Next, what I'll do is I will impersonate my colleague Diego. So if I click on his activity feed and I scroll to the top, you can see here that he's a member of that team, and he also received a notification requesting that this update be provided. If I click on the notification, it's going to bring me into that channel post. And if I click write update, then I will be able to provide this update. So I'll just go ahead and throw in a response here in all of these required fields, and then I'll click submit, and that has been submitted. Now, when I go back to my main teams here, you can see the number of submissions, and I can click on review, and that's going to allow me to look at the various responses that were provided. So by default, it's going to show me the other submitters' forms. Now, right now, it's only Diego's form that is being displayed. If I click view entire series, it's going to actually bring me into the updates app itself on the review tab, and I can see all of the responses to this form, and I can just view the details by clicking on that respective card. So that's one way you can use that app in the context of a team. The other way you can request an update or write an update is by clicking on the messaging extensions button just below the compose box and then selecting update. That's just another way to get into the same screen when you want to request or write an update in the context of a team. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to close out the tutorial by looking at where the data that is collected through these update forms is stored and how you can actually export that data to Excel. All right, now I mentioned earlier in the tutorial that the actual data collected through the update forms is stored in the Microsoft Forms app. Now you can see here that I am in Microsoft Forms, and you can navigate to this either by going to office.com and logging in with your Microsoft 365 account credentials, or just navigating to forms.office.com. And what you can see here in the recent forms group are all of the different updates that were either submitted, accessed, or even just published through that app. Now, if I click on this daily update, which has 2 responses, you can see here I can view the form fields or questions if I just scroll down here. And you'll also notice that this form is read only and can't be edited. So again, you can't actually amend the update forms through the Forms application. You have to do that in the Updates app itself, but the actual form record and the underlying data is stored here in Microsoft Forms. Now, if I click on responses, you can see here this particular updates form has 2 responses. And if I scroll down, it's going to show me the typical Microsoft Forms reporting summary. So I can easily see at a glance all of the different responses sort of aggregated. And if I want to actually view the individual results, I can click on this button. And you can see here, this is the form that we just submitted in the context of a team. And if I click on this arrow, I can toggle between those individual responses. Now, if I wanted to export this data to Excel, what I can do is I can click on this Open in Excel button, and this is going to actually download an Excel file. And you can see here that I'm able to export all of the form fields and the responses by the individual submitters to an Excel file, so that if I needed to manipulate it or integrate this into something like Microsoft Power BI or some other analytics tool, I could do that. So that is where the underlying data is stored, and that is how you can actually export or extract that data to an Excel spreadsheet. So that's it. In this tutorial, I showed you how to use the Microsoft Teams Updates app. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please hit that thumbs up below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date on the latest tutorials that I publish. I'm Louis Yacobalis. Thanks for stopping by. Talk soon.